The new number is... Please note, the new number is...
Welcome to Black Telephone TV.
Today we have Charlene Elsby with us. We're so excited to talk to her. Charlene, you know we have 3 questions for you. We are planning to ask everybody the same 3 questions, so don't feel like we're trying to make this hard for you in particular. We're trying to make it hard for everyone, including ourselves. So the first question is, tell us about the strangest act of communication that you have ever been on the receiving end of.
Oh, well. So looking up this question, thinking about it, the first thing that came to mind was this weird thing that happened when I was a teenager, like 15, 16. I had a stepsister and we used to hang around all the time, and we would joke that, you know, we can tell what the other one is thinking. And one day we just, did some acid, and then we stayed at school and played with the drums for a while. And then we decided to go downtown and go to the coffee shop where all the cool kids hung out after school. And on the way there was this guy on the corner, and we just passed by him and, you know, looked at each other weirdly. And we both said, you know, that guy, like, there's just something. And then we kept going, and we sat down at the coffee shop and, you know, smoked some cigarettes. But about an hour later, like, that guy came in the door, and it was so fucking weird. He came up to our table, and apparently he'd left a mitten there, and he just started screaming at everybody there about how if you leave a mitten there, they'll just take it. They'll just take your mitten from you, and they won't give it back. And everyone at this point was weirded out. It was not just us. And then he left, and, you know, that became a thing for a while, is, have you seen my mitten? And it was the inside joke. But the weird thing was when we saw him on the street before, and we just knew he was a weirdo.
That's incredible. That's incredible, because, like, you know, when you're tripping, obviously every interaction is going to be your weirdest interaction yet, especially if it's with a stranger. So it's amazing that, like, your acid warped brains actually got validated by actual reality, by a real actual weird thing happening, that everybody could see this is crazy.
Yes, exactly. And, like, it wasn't me. It's not the drugs. It's the guy. We just knew. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, as I was listening to you talk, I was thinking, like, how is the acid going to play a role in this? But it doesn't really play a role. It's just like a weird thing happened, and I happened to have been on acid at the time.
Well, they noticed him. They might have not noticed him if they weren't on acid.
Right. I think it, like, opened up the lines of communication a little bit so that we could tell what we otherwise might have ignored.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I remember being on acid and, like, going to the movies with my friends in college, and, like, just being at the window trying to get the tickets was just, like, the most petrifying experience. Like, they know I'm tripping. They must know I'm tripping. How do I ask for this? I just want to go in there and watch this movie and trip, but I have to talk to someone.
The paranoia is no good.
No. Good to have a trip buddy.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
That's a slam dunk one right there.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next question.
All right.
Actually, this kind of, it feels like similar to that. Okay. Riskiest form of communication ever attempted?
By you.
Yes.
Yes.
I think I take a lot of risks in communication, but I think the riskiest thing that I do sometimes is just, you know, saying what I mean. I usually always think too much before anything actually comes out of my mouth. Like, I'm not used to speak thinking.
Charlene, no, you would never do that.
It's the casualty of having a philosophy PhD. That's, like,
Oh my God.
Goes with the territory.
Right. So sometimes I just think too much, and then by the time I actually want to say something or, like, type something into Twitter, it's really weird. And it's gone through, like, a lot of little logical connections that might not make sense to the person receiving it. So yeah, I have to be really careful. But sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, I'm going to say what I mean. And I'm like, you know, if Lerman posts a really nice picture of herself, and what I mean to express is like, hey, nice picture, but how it comes out by the time I'm done thinking is like, I'm going to take your skin and get a job as a pharma sales rep because they're pretty is what I mean. But you can't say that to everyone because they'll just think you're weird. So it's a risk. It's a risk that I choose to take because I do think I'm hilarious.
You are.
Yeah, and it's, when it lands, it's fantastic.
It's hard online. It's hard to convey. I mean, it's so hard to convey mood online. Mood and tone are the things that are just lost. Like we all kind of know each other. You guys have known each other before, and I've gotten to spend time with you and interact about work stuff and not work stuff and everything. So like we all kind of know our weird, like we all have kind of like a weird, dark, quirky sense of humor that we definitely like vibe with. But like if somebody doesn't know, they're like,
you're just weird, right? This
Yeah.
girl wants to wear my skin.
It's weird with no charm.
Yeah.
So you don't have any one specific act of attempted communication, though.
That's
Literally, her existence is her bold act. Her existence is her bold, dangerous act. She is a bold, dangerous acting communicator.
Yeah,
Really
that's right.
If I had to pick one, like that review I wrote of Yeager a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah. If you didn't get that as like a half sideways joke, like the way I used my tone in there, it'll come off weird. But if you hang around with creepy people, then it's great.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, the third one. This was my favorite question when I came up with it. Lisa and I had a meeting yesterday.
Yeah, that's scary. I'm scared.
Yes.
I still haven't even thought about what I'm gonna say.
So this one is a little bit more open-ended. You could either be on the receiving end of it, or you could be the one attempting to transmit. But this question is, tell us about the biggest failure in communication you've ever personally experienced, been a part of.
This is the one that's been haunting me all day because I've been trying to think of my answer. And when I think of my answer, I think of the situation and it like hurts every time. It's just embarrassing. That's okay. But you remember the Facebook poke feature?
Oh God.
Oh no. Yeah.
Like 8 or 9 years ago, I used to go to these concerts with my dad and my stepmother, and it was a guy named Fred Eaglesmith. My stepmother was huge into him, absolutely loved him. And we used to go to all of his concerts, and he was local, so he'd talk to you after the shows and take pictures, and I had him on my Facebook and everything. And Facebook kept telling me to poke him because Facebook knows everything, right? They know I'm going to the show. And they kept recommending, people you could poke, as Fred Eaglesmith. I'm like, okay.
That was like the worst call ever that they ever made.
Right? So I thought that was hilarious. One, because it's absurd. Like I can poke this person. Like, am I just gonna like run up on stage at his concert and like poke him and run away? Facebook was telling me to do this, right? So I wrote this super funny post. And I think I even tagged him in it, saying, Facebook keeps telling me to poke Fred maybe later at his concert. And he took it the wrong way.
Oh no.
I was literally just thinking it would be hilarious to run on stage, poke him, and run away. And on a second level, I was thinking, of course, he's going to get the absurdity of how Facebook doesn't represent real life and how this would be an absolutely absurd thing to do, right? And we're going to have a really good laugh. But no, he got up on stage and went on a little rant about how these little girls from Guelph are hitting on him on the internet.
Wow.
No, what?
I know. It was so embarrassing. And I still listen to his music because it's good, but I feel bad every time.
I don't think that's necessarily a failure of communication on your part, though. It sounds like he took it up in a strange way and got nasty about it online.
At his show. not online. And then he took me off his Facebook and his Twitter, and I could never apologize or tell him what I meant. And it's haunted me many years now.
Well, hopefully he'll watch this and send you an apology.
I hope so.
Yeah.
If anybody knows Fred, tell him I didn't
Tag
mean
him.
that.
I'll tag him when I post this. I'll put it in the YouTube tags.
Perfect. Thank you. Get this
Yeah,
sorted.
I don't like the way he handled that. Like, if you're a musician and you're a public persona, people are going to say things about you and maybe express some kind of admiration or interest online. It's going to happen. And you don't need to get nasty about it and say that little girls are hitting on you. Like, you were an adult.
I mean, it's probably weirded out by it.
The open forum was also his wife, which made it pretty awkward.
What? What did you say?
Oh, I said I'm pretty sure the woman who opened for him was also his wife, which
Oh,
made
yeah.
it
Yeah. No, that's understandable. That's weird, but yeah, fuck that.
I get it. Yeah.
That was the worst feature ever invented. I would get pokes all the time and be like, okay, well, I know who I'm blocking. It
For
felt
us, it was a competition, like who could poke the last one last, and I still have pokes on my account that people haven't responded to.
it's so rapey. Like, it's just so rapey.
I never had it that way. It was just a friendly tap.
But how do you know? Like, how do you know receiving it, you know?
Oh, because I only ever got poked by people who loved me, like in a nice way.
I'm totally poking you next time I see you.
Is it still an option?
Okay.
Can you still poke?
I think you can.
And nobody is dumb enough to do it anymore.
No.
Oh,
no.
the wave is dumb too, but way less annoying than the poke still.
The wave is off.
Hmm.
Followed closely by I'm going to invite you to my page 2 seconds after I friended you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be off Facebook.
It's so annoying that you're off Facebook because whenever I tag you, you don't do anything.
I hate Facebook. I'm not on it. It's awful. Talk about, like, it's one long study in various failures of communication.
I think you just have bad friends.
No, I just don't like, I have good friends in real life.
On Facebook.
But it doesn't matter enough to me to like try to curate my feed. I resent the fact that that's like a necessity these days. Like, I curate the feed of my life already. I don't want to have to do that on every fucking social platform in addition to my real life. Do you know? Mm-mm.
Yeah. Well, whatever, Miss Snooty Pants. I'm
I'll
gonna
be on Facebook sharing memes.
Facebook. You're gonna miss out on all my cool Facebook content.
Oh, just
I posted about yesterday. Yesterday, we both heard something loud at the same time. We were in the bedroom. There was nothing playing. Nothing. We were literally mid-conversation. We hear this loud. It sounded like it was coming from the TV, but the TV was off. This loud, deep man's voice that I couldn't quite tell what he said, but Krista said he thought he said, "Did you hear?"
whoa.
And we indeed very much heard. It was quite fucking loud. So we both literally stopped and we're like, what? And we got up, we went and looked, TV was off. I don't know.
Wow. What did Christoph do? I can imagine what you would do, but what did he do?
I mean, he got all freaked out. He's scared, you know? He's scared of the idea of,
Yeah.
Ghosts.
Yeah.
I mean, this house is kind of a little weird train station. Brett actually stayed over a night. He was house sitting and he heard a deep man voice once again. And he said he thought it sounded like he said stupid.
Oh,
You have a nasty ghost.
what did this mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was late at night, he said, and he heard it like in this room I'm sitting in right now. So yeah, who knows? I gotta find out who this guy is. I feel like he's from the 60s. I'm not sure. Anyway, enough fun and games. So Charlene wrote a fabulous piece that we didn't put in the online magazine because it was a little bit on the long side, but it's in the print magazine right here, and it's the closer, and the title is Disgusting. Disgusting. So would you like to read some of your story?
Sure.
Okay,
I'm going to start at the beginning.
great.
The very beginning. Okay. So if people want to follow along, if they have it, they can go to the very beginning of your story.
Yep.
John and I used to spend all of our time together. For years, nothing could separate us as much as could be helped. We would arrange things that way. It was obvious. It was always to be. When one exchanges molecules with the same person day in and day out, it's as if they begin to work together, to impulse the flesh along a certain course of action, and ours always put us together. If ever we were apart for too long, it seemed as if the universe were doing us an injustice, and it had to be corrected. We would joyously come together again, exulting in our having deflated the scornful attempts of nature to part us when one cannot part a singular substance. When things grow apart, they say, they evolve differently. They adapt to their environments and slowly become nothing but strangers, things that remain the material remnants of the one thing they used to be. I suppose you could say that we had a common ancestor. In November, I put on an outer skin, and so did he. It always seemed unfair that his outer skins could be layered while mine were expected not to be. There were some things that were not mine: my neck, my arms, my upper back. These were everyone else's fleshes. I was happy for the evening, as it seemed to me as if the elasticity preserving our unity was slackening. There was no tension in between our beings, nothing taut, and it seemed as if to pull it would only slacken it more. So the fact that we were to go together, I thought, would do something to strengthen our mixture. The trouble with a human doll is that you can not see behind the eyes, not even if you wanted to. It turns out that behind them is just more flesh, not what I wanted to see. I wanted to see their vision, their purposiveness, as if their gaze stopped short several inches from me. Their glassiness looked as if it were shining to distract me, whereas they used to just shine as if to shine. I would look in the direction of the glare and then nothing. They would use the opportunity to pull away from me, everything going with them. Then I knew that was how I got in. It had something to do with the alignment of our gaze that allowed for the proper exchange of materials, and by looking away, he meant to deny me. He was largely silent on the way over. I had gotten used to it. It used to be that everything that happened, everything that was so in exacting detail. He wanted me to see as he saw and to know everything he knew, and that would ensure our mutual alignment. When I noticed his words were shorter than usual, I said it was for no reason at all. When I noticed that it was always that way, I noticed it always. When I see him across the table now, I don't think he's looked me in the eye for several months. He used to keep it up for the sake of appearances, but at some point it was no longer allowed. There was something so final about it, as if it weren't the case, that he could simply look at me and do away with all of the chewing, the swallowing and swirling, the torment of that mass inside him. I just knew that he would never look at me again, and that was that. After the way over, that was when it was. He would look in a direction and I would try to follow his gaze, and then nothing. There was nothing there, nothing to feed on, nothing to find. It was as if he picked an angle at which to look, and this was the least offensive one. This angle could not be questioned, of course. When the others came, everything seemed as it were.
Amazing. Thank you.
What if you can succinctly say what was your inspiration for that story?
Yeah, there's my inspiration was how your lover becomes disgusting if the moment you feel they've been sullied by the touch of another human, and then everything they do becomes terrible. And the story is just about how John is eating some bread and he's become so disgusting that I can't stand him anymore. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely hard to read. Like I got really kind of inundated by the disgustingness of the imagery, and felt disgusting, more and more disgusting in my own body as I read it, thinking about, like, you described the internal organs and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, that's so gross. Like, I've got all these like organs inside me all like squished together, and then I've got all this other stuff, and I'm just like this mass of flesh and all this stuff.
Yeah, well, if you love a person, they are all light and life and everything good, and you see brightness in their eyes, and you can see into their soul, and they're so much more than just a bag of organs walking around. But once that's gone, and all that's left is the bag of organs, uh, it's disgusting. We're disgusting.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. There's no one who does it like you in terms of making it clear that like to live in our bodies and in the world and in space and time is just really gross and weird. You're so good at that. It's the Charlene touch. It's the Elsby touch.
Wouldn't want to let you stray too far into the abstract. Don't forget you're a meat sack.
You're a gross little farting meat sack
Yeah.
Yep.
that bleeds and bleeds. There's always blood in your work.
Yeah, well, you're full of it, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
And one day again, we'll meet in the meat space. It's been about almost a year ago today when the three of us were actually in the same physical space at AWP in San Antonio. So, you know, not happening this year, but it was
Someday.
it's so different doing this like online than like in real life. But at the same time, like I kind of like how much more people are communicating via video because, you know, not everybody can be everywhere at the same time, you know. If you're in a lucky place at a lucky time, you know, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thank you, Charlene. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for sharing your weird story.
Thank you for having my weird story in your cool magazine.
The debut, #1, issue 1.
It's beautiful.
It's full of all kinds of weird stuff. And we're
Yeah.
assembling issue 2. So that'll be exciting. Any closing words, Lindsay?
Oh, thanks for tuning in. We are going to feature as many contributing writers as we can. And we're really excited to just kind of hang out and hear from as many writers as we can. And hopefully give everybody out there who wants to tune in just a little something interesting and strange to occupy their eyeballs.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Join us for the next one. Thank you for watching. Pick up the black telephone. We're listening.